Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Thanks for joining us again. I've got today Jerry Benson. He's going to join us and share just a little bit about what he has experienced in his life. He's one of my Project Forward pals, and so I can't wait to hear what he has to say. Welcome, Jerry.
Thank you for inviting me, January. It's great to be here, and we're kind of on this train together. Just started rolling, so
Yeah, it hasn't gained too much momentum, so we can still jump off if we need to, but I'm not feeling like jumping, so okay.
no, too late now. We're on it. We're gonna be each other's accountability partner. You're not getting off. I'm not getting off.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly what I need. Accountability partner, that's for sure. So Jerry, tell me just a little bit about your life up until now. Now, some of your history, some of your story.
Well, I actually grew up in New Jersey, hated the cold weather, and I grew up a Tar Heel fan. I was like, oh, well, I'm just going to go to North Carolina. So I went to University of North Carolina at Charlotte. I registered, signed up for classes, did everything without ever having visited the campus until the day I stepped foot to pick my classes. And it was, I don't recommend anybody doing that, but it worked out great for me because it's beautiful. And I was 19 or 20. I was working in landscaping with a guy, and he said, yeah, he was stationed down here and he loved it. They used to come to Charlotte all the time for parties and do whatever. And I was like, all right, go there. I'll go there. And because it was Florida, North Carolina, I was like, well, I'll never be able to come home if I go to Florida. So I came down here and got in fraternity, met a bunch of great people, met my wife. We've got 3 kids, and I started working in the investments industry, and with the banking investments world, jobs are like this. So I went back and got a master's degree in I got an MHA MBA, and I actually was working for UPMC up in Pittsburgh, and then COVID hit. And then so all those healthcare jobs that they never let people go, well, they started letting people go. So then I came back down here, I got into mortgages, and then mortgage rates started shooting up. So people doing mortgages. So
Right.
then I just happened to get a call from a company I used to work for, contracting, said, hey, are you free? We need help. I'm like, sure. And so I've been contracting with them ever since.
So what kind
And
of
that was
contracts do you do
last
for them?
October. I'm in the ethics office compliance area.
Oh,
I work for a registered investment advisor, a large company,
okay.
and we just make sure that all the employees aren't, trading on non-public information, or they're
Oh,
following rules and guidelines, because it's very strict. The industry is highly regulated, so
okay.
we've got
Yeah.
to make sure that if the company's selling something or buying something, our employees aren't doing the opposite because they know something, because
Ah,
that's when the SEC comes knocking at your door.
right.
And no, we don't do that.
No.
So
All right. Wow. So you said you worked with a mortgager at one point. So are you familiar? Were you on the kind of the lending side, like more of a loan officer or an own underwriter, or how did you work with that mortgager?
yeah, I was a mortgage broker. So I just had clients, and people looking to buy houses, and I collect all their documents and pre-qualify them, give them pre-approvals, and you know walk them through all the stuff they needed to make sure they had everything that they needed for the real estate agent, and then for the underwriter, because when the underwriter gets it, then that's when they go fine tooth comb. So I had to make sure they had pretty much everything that they could possibly ask for up front,
Yeah.
And then when they found the house, it was just, okay, well, you might be missing this or missing that. But, depending on the underwriter, you could get an underwriter that had asked for like, oh, you're only missing two things. And the next time you do the exact same thing, you get a different underwriter. Oh, you're missing 25 things.
Right.
Because they all got to have their little stamp on it.
Right. Right. So as a mortgage broker, were you somebody that could like shop around to different banks? Am I understanding that correctly? Like the broker can go to a bunch of different lenders and find the best one that the person qualifies for?
Oh, absolutely. So if you work for, let's say you work for a bank, well, you're only lending what the bank allows you and working in their parameters. But as a broker, if you came to me and I know you want to do a DSCR loan, and I'm like, okay, well, let me know about it. So let's say your rent and the mortgage will be about the same. So I need to find a lender. Most lenders want a one-to-one relationship.
Right.
Some will do less, some will do more. But if your
Right.
rent is lower than your mortgage, I would need to find a lender that
Would accept a point
will,
0.9 on their DSCR ratio there. Wow.
yeah, I need to find a lender that does that, because if you're under that and I send it to a lender that wants, 1-to-1 or 1.2, then you're not going to get approved. But
Right.
so it was great to be able to just kind of say, okay, tell me your story and I'll go find the lender that can do it.
Nice.
So
Nice.
it was good, but I had with rates steadily climbing up, people just, they thought it was going to be like, oh wait, oh, I'll just wait and pick up a house for like 50 cents on the dollar. I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen. So they would just
No.
wait and wait and wait. I'm like, okay, this isn't working.
Right.
So just so happened something else came up and I was able to do that. And I was like, well, that was fun, but I really want to be a real estate investor. That's
Right.
what I really want to
Right. Well, and that kind of gives you that other side of perspective, because the real estate investors, we tend to jump into stuff and we're like, yeah, I'll just go get a loan. And you're like, well, hold on. You know what? I actually have a little
do.
experience in that. I've got some knowledge. Let me share with you what we're expecting, from a mortgage broker or a lender side of the house. And so that's fantastic that your experience in the mortgage lending broker world really dovetails into your now being a part of the SubTo community. So tell me a little bit
Yeah.
about how did you find SubTo, and what really enticed you to come and join us?
Well, I like the creative, always like the creative stuff. I did a sub 2 training with a local investor. Um, but yeah, he knew what he was doing and he coached me, but it wasn't like super in depth. He just kind of started doing things. I mean,
Mm,
he's been doing it for 25 years, but trying to teach others, it was just kind of like, eh, it's not
right.
really there.
Yeah.
And but I understood how it was, because all he did was sub 2.
Mm,
And
wow.
so I was like, oh, okay. Because when you don't have a ton of capital, you're like, all right, how can I build a real estate empire if I need money?
Right.
So
Exactly.
um
Exactly.
so then I got involved. I did some other things, and I did notes. I was doing flipping notes, because that was it's just like a flipping a house, except you're doing something different.
Right.
And having a background in investments and in mortgages, I already knew the terminology, so it wasn't like I had to learn anything. So that was easier to do. Um, but then I got back involved in the local RIA and met some great people. And I'm like, okay, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? And there's all these mentorships and stuff like that. And I did a door knocking seminar, and that was good. But it was, he's been doing it for 30 years. He uses his own cash. He just knocks on the door, says, hey, looking
Wow.
for houses in the area, anybody wants to sell. And, they either do or they don't, and you move on. I was like, there's got to be a better way. And I was sitting in that class, and a lady had called and she says, I'm, I want to sell, but I don't want to sell for 2 years because I got stuff to take care of. And everybody in the class, including the instructor, was like, oh, okay, well, we'll just call you back and we'll just keep in touch. And I'm like, why are you doing that? Why don't you do a lease option? And I don't really even know what I'm doing. I just know you can do a lease option. And she wants to just put it up. And he was just like, okay, yeah, we can do that. And they offered it to her and she liked the idea. She didn't end up doing it, but it was like, okay, I need to find someone in some area that actually understands creative financing because this isn't what I want to do. And I just happened to be looking around and I found a video of Pace doing SubTo, and the first video I watched, and I was just like what I know about SubTo could fit in a closet, and here Pace is talking about on one Zoom stuff that you would fill a 40-story building with.
Yeah.
And so I watched all of them, and then I found out he was doing he had the community and all that other stuff, and I was like, oh man, if I could learn how to do that, do all that, and really understand how things work, that's what I want. And so I joined, and like I said, I don't know if I talked to you, like I thought I was entering this one door to go into a room, and I opened it and it was a completely new world. And it was insane. And I've been and then all the free stuff and all the Zooms, you're just like, oh my goodness, I had no idea. And it was exactly what I need. And then meeting people like you and some of the other people, I'm like, man, you people are amazing. So it's great. I get to learn something that I love to do and meet good people that are like-minded that kind of hold you accountable. So when you get negative or you get frustrated or something happens, you're like, hey, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Exactly.
Get out of that mindset. You're not in that mindset.
That's right. I mean, the Pace Morby community, Pace has really set the standard from the top. So it's like no negativity. Let's fix that mindset. And so he's got mindset Zooms day in and day out. His leaders are just really training us up to constantly be thinking it's not a problem. It's just an opportunity to figure out a solution, and it's like the accountability is incredible. You get into some accountability groups and it's kind of like it starts out as a good accountability group and then it just becomes a gossip session after a while. But here it's like it's a constant reinforcement. Hey, you know what? You need to set your goals. You need to, have somebody to put your feet to the fire and help you grow. And the mantra is always like, take action, take action. What is the action you're going to take on that? And so Pace has set that bar from the, top, and it just filters down all the way to us. So tell me a little bit about, so you went from SubTo and you moved into Project Forward. And so now this is a whole new realm of just putting yourself out there, right? So tell me some of your learning experience here in getting prepared for Project Forward.
Project Forward. I knew what I needed when I did Project Forward, but I wasn't quite sure even what it was. I'm just like, okay, what is this thing? Like I didn't even think it had a name. It was just, we're doing this thing.
Right.
And I was just like, all right, Pace is doing this thing, and he's going to be on there talking about something that's going to be really good. How you can make money doing like non-real estate stuff and passive and all this other stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right, let me go check it out. And then we got on it, and he started talking, and he's kind of giving you hints about, well, you got to build a not brand, but create a presence, because he doesn't want to scare you. Because if you said brand, I'm like, oh, this is one of those social media things. I'm not really good with all that social media stuff. I can barely find what I'm looking for when someone points it out to me, and I'm going to do this and do that. And
Right.
so I was like, yeah, but this is exactly what I need. I need someone to basically hold my hand, which he's really great at, hold my hand and kind of walk me down the path saying, okay, this is social media. This is how you do a podcast. This is how you do this. This is how you do that. So I'm like, okay, all right, well, step by step, not loading up. And in the end, I might be doing podcasts and posting and all that other stuff. It's just more efficiently, because when I do it, it takes forever because I'm just like doing one thing at a time. And I know I know there's a lot easier way to do it than how I do it. So I'm looking forward to that because I've had a started small businesses before and they haven't done well because I don't know how to market. And so that's my biggest weakness. And so now I'm looking at it like, okay, that's my weakness. I always knew it was. This is a way to kind of fill in a gap on stuff that I don't understand and uncomfortable with. And, you know, here it is for free. Why not?
Yeah, it's incredible. The, you know, the it's hand holding, but it's not necessarily hand holding, right? He's laying out the path, but you have to take the steps. You have to go down that
Absolutely.
path.
Yeah. Well, that's to me, that's hand holding because he's grabbing your hand, showing you, here's the key, there's the door. What are you gonna do?
Right.
Versus saying, it's over there somewhere. Go figure it out. There's the end result. And then you just sit there and you get lost in Google world and like, how do you do this? How do you do that? And you get mixed messages and you combine things that don't work. And you're mixing cats and dogs and water and oil. It's all insanity.
Yeah. So now that you're in SubTo, you've got now the community to support you
Yeah.
and surround you. What are your goals? What are you going to do in the next 6 months or 1 year? What are you shooting for specifically to use now the tools you've got to get you to where you're headed?
Well, my ultimate goal, my goal right now is I'm looking to build retirement because I don't, Social Security is or is not going to be there. Either way, it's not going to be enough. I think by
Right.
the time it comes to me, it'll be taxed at like 85%. So you get
Mhm.
nothing. Um, so I'm like, okay, well, and I really want to do businesses and just have little like have a diversified portfolio like your investments. You might have an Airbnb, you might do a wholesale, you might have a business here or a business there, just and all you have all these avenues because as one, it's a hedge against reality, life, where you have multiple businesses. Some might not do as well in the summer or the winter or in down times and up and good times, but the others will. And so they balance out. And
Yeah,
then there's nothing better than, what they say, sipping a Mai Tai on a beach and making money. And that's the goal, right?
that's right.
So my goal, always wanted to do the Gator lending, always wanted to do lending because I lent money out twice before through my self-directed IRA, and I'm like,
Okay.
man, that's easy. But I had
Right.
a great relationship with the people, so I wasn't afraid to lose my money. But
I bet.
now going into all the other stuff, it's um, you're trying to lend money to people you've never done business with before, and so like, you got to have your ducks in a row and make sure because I don't know if it was Warren Buffett or somebody said the losing money is not a good way to make money. So, and rule number one is don't lose money. Rule number two is see rule number one, you
Yeah,
know?
that's
So,
great.
and so I looked at Gator. I'm like, okay, this is how I'm going to do the Gator with the lending. And then the door knocking is for me just to get out of my comfort zone, to find off market deals, and just prove to myself that I can, I can do that, because I've been a paralysis of analysis kind of person, like forever. Like, you don't know the Charlotte area, but I was on a bus tour with one of the godfather of like real estate investing around here 20 years ago, where he was taking a group of us around areas that he was buying homes for $25,000 and selling them for $75,000. Well, those areas were up and coming. Now those homes in those areas are $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 homes. But back then he was buying them for 25 grand.
Wow.
So all the way back then, I wanted to do it, and I'm just like, I don't know how. I don't know how. I don't know how. I need the money. I'm afraid to make a mistake, and blah 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 blah.
Right.
So the SubTo community, if I screw up or I get into trouble, I have access to people that I can ask questions. So long story short, my goal is retirement in 6 months, just to get some kind of real estate deal, whether it's a wholesale or something I buy and hold. It just depends on what it fits. I'm really pretty much open to anything. I'd like to own a mobile home park, and I'm really intrigued with the not the multifamily, but the group homes where you rent per bed and stuff like that.
Right.
Because ironically enough, my neighbor, he has he owns 2 small apartment buildings, and he does Section 8. And I was talking to him like a couple of weeks ago. When he was renting his Section 8, and all the other landlords, their tenants didn't have to make their payments, he still got paid.
Yeah.
Because the government was paying him for his Section 8 tenants, and all his Section 8 tenants still had. So I'm like, yeah, so the diversification is really good. If you can do something like that while you're doing other things, like you're just hedging, making sure that your income is hedged in case of crazy times. What am I most likely to collect?
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. I love that your diversification is really kind of your theme right now, because it's true. You've got to be cognizant of the fact that, you know what, just because something is doing really good right now doesn't mean it's always going to be doing good. I mean, isn't that like the investment disclaimer at the bottom of every, stock investment you do? Past performance does not equal future, does not indicate future performance. And so,
That's right.
that is so good that you're already thinking diversification to protect and hedge. That's fantastic. So tell me, I'd love to hear a little bit about the challenges that you've overcome, because, everybody talks wins and goals, and, we see all the good stuff, but there's got to have been some kind of a challenge that you had to overcome that made you stronger, that made you wiser, that brought you to where you are today. And you can look back and say, you know what? I didn't like it in the moment, but I'm a better person today due to that challenge. Do you have any kind of experiences in life that you can credit to your success right now because you had to work through that difficulty?
Oh yeah, that was well, going back to where I loved playing football when I was younger. I was 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and then I hurt my shoulder. Couldn't play after that. And at the time, it was devastating because that's all I wanted to do. However, had I done that, I probably wouldn't have been. Well, I wasn't a great student, but at least later on, I realized, okay, well, I'm not going to make it in the NFL, so maybe I should study a little bit more. And I made the mistake when I was in undergrad to say, man, when I get my degree, I'm never studying again. I studied more after I got out of undergrad than I did when I was in undergrad. And then when I got when I got into my career, every 7 years, they'd go through a reorg, and I'd end up losing my job, have to start over. Losing my job, have to start over. So I tried building a career I get on a trajectory of 6, 7 years, and then something happened in the market, like 9/11, the real estate crash. And, it was like major things happen, and you're just like, okay, got to start all over again. And
Yes.
so it just became like, okay, it's like, they say the 7 year itch with Mary. I had the 7 year itch with corporations. We break up in 7 years, like all the time. And so I had to find different things to do. And after the third one, I was like, all right, this is it. I'm going into healthcare. And I go into healthcare right as COVID hit. So then I just had to start over. So it's just like, now it's like, it's almost laughable. It's like, okay, oh, it's almost 7 years now. What's going to drop now that
Oh,
I
boy.
gotta change courses? So it wasn't comfortable. I've never been comfortable. Whereas some people I know starting one thing, they stay there for 25 years, and one little hiccup just throws them for a loop. And I've been dealing with hiccups my entire life. So every time something happens, I gotta switch new. So
Wow.
and then when I joined SubTo, I'm like, well, I need to go direct to seller. That's what I want to do. But knocking on doors, that's a little like, but for someone in my situation, like knocking on doors makes the most sense until I kind of get things going. So getting out of that comfort zone and actually going and knocking on doors and realizing that most people don't answer. And if you're going in there with the idea to help, it's a different conversation. So that's what I like. That's what I like about it. It still gets a little nerve-wracking when you go knocking on someone's door, because you just don't know what reception you're going to get. But at the end of the day, sticks and stones.
Right.
It's just
That's
words.
right. Wow. It sounds like even from a young age, you've had to build your resiliency. Like you now have you can be the comeback kid. You've been knocked down and you're like, I'm not letting that keep me down. I'm getting back up, back on the horse, whether it was, okay, well, I don't feel like staying down, or oh, look, I got a family that I'm providing for and they are depending on me. I have got to get back in it and do it again. That's an amazing victory, I think. That is because,
Yep.
personally, I've been married to the military, for
Uh,
for a long time. My husband had an Air Force career of almost 27 years. And so
Ooh.
I know after a while he's like, well, it'd take an act of Congress for them to fire me. I was like, "Ooh, you got really close to Congress that day, didn't you, honey?" So, but wow, to just come back again and again, that is in itself, I think, something that you could definitely be proud of. That is so encouraging, because
Yeah.
like you said,
Thank you.
not everybody has those. That's incredible. That is a strength of yours that you should definitely always remember. And, you know, I mean, be so proud of that. Thank you so much, Jerry. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up now, but I have had such a fantastic time hearing your story,
Too.
hearing your I mean, your resilience is now like, wow, Jerry has a spine of steel. He can get knocked down and get back up again. So incredible getting to talk to you and hear your story. Thank you so much for coming on, Jerry.
Thank you, January. It's great talking to you again. And good luck with that farm.
Ah, thank you. I hear them mooing now. Guess it's time to go feed them. You have a great weekend.
Thanks. You too.
Bye.
Bye.